Are frugality and deprivation really the same thing?
When you hear the word frugality, do you think of things like living like a hermit?
Never turning on a light bulb in the house.
Oh, I know. And also eating just bread and butter and drinking water for supper every single night.
Yeah.
Now, we have actually had some really interesting comments given to us about our frugality, some of which include, I could never live like you.
What are you going to do with all that money?
So if you had more money, you wouldn't live like this, right?
And you're not enjoying life.
Now, all of those comments, I think, basically go back to this idea of deprivation being exactly the same thing, part and parcel of the word frugality. And we actually really don't think that that's the case. And in this video, we'll share reasons with you why we don't think that's true.
But first, let's mention that we're doing a collaboration with Kate Kaden.
Yeah, we're so excited to collaborate with our buddy Kate. Kate is going to be on her YouTube channel talking about the exact same topic. So when you're done watching this video, you're going to want to head over to Kate's channel to see her take on this whole idea of whether frugality and deprivation are exactly the same thing or whether they are not the same thing. We'll make sure that there's a link to Kate's video in the description of this video. But hey, in case this is your first time joining us, I'm Hope.
And I'm Larry.
And this is Under the Median, where every week we do talk about practical frugality. All right, we have some very specific reasons why we literally don't think that deprivation and frugality should even remotely be considered to be exactly the same thing. And along the way, we're going to give you some reasons and ideas based on our own experience.
But before we do that, why don't we define our terms?
Yeah, it's a good idea.
Exactly. What is deprivation and what is frugality? I think once you look at the definitions, you'll see there really is quite a difference between the two.
We looked up definitions online. We used the Macmillan Online Dictionary, y'all. So this is like...
It's official.
The official.
Oh, yeah.
Deprivation is a situation in which people do not have basic things they need to live a comfortable life. Deprivation often includes words like poverty, destitution, poor, and subsistence level living. So in short, deprivation is something that's really uncomfortable. And it's also something that we think can't be sustained on a really long-term basis.
Yeah, it's a basic lack of necessities. You know, when I think of the word deprivation, I think of Charles Dickens and many of the characters that he portrays in his writings of poor people, very destitute, not living in any kind of joy at all in their lives. So, in contrast, let's talk about frugality. Now, we looked this one up in the Britannica dictionary, and this is what it says about frugality. Frugality is the quality of being sparing, thrifty, prudent, or economical in the consumption of consumable resources such as food, time, or money, and avoiding things like wasting, lavishness, or extravagance.
Now, interestingly, frugal comes from the Latin word frugalis, which means fruit, or it also can mean value, because frugal people evaluate the value of where they spend their time, money, and their resources.
Well, let's dig into some practical examples of what we're talking about here.
For us, frugality is really money that is spent with a purpose. We have been frugal for a really, really long time, and we do spend money. But as far as we're concerned, we try to make sure that when we're spending money, we're doing it with a purpose in mind. There's always something we're looking down the road. How is this money going to impact goals? Goals for us are intrinsically linked with this idea of frugality and how we're spending our money.
Yeah, so frugal people spend a little more time planning what they're going to do with their money.
Which is interesting because I think what happens with frugality is people see you not spending money for a really long period of time, and they think that's how you're going to spend the rest of your life, never, ever, ever spending money, which actually is not true of frugality. A true definition of frugality, remember, involves that idea of value. It's not that we don't spend money. We spend money on things that we value.
So a frugal person isn't probably going to go to a thrift store and look at a couple items that might be shiny and enticing and do an impulse buy. We're going to spend some time planning where those resources are going. So when we make a purchase, it's a meaningful purchase on an item that we've been planning on buying all along.
Frugality then is strategic. It's planning exactly where we want to put those dollars to their best use. When we were discussing this before we went live on camera, Larry had a really great example.
I think of an admiral in a war room, and they're making plans on what they're going to do next. What's their next move? So they have a map laid out, and they have certain people that are going to go to certain areas, do certain things in a certain order. And that's what we do with frugal living. It's a strategy. It's very strategic on how we're going to spend our money, what we're going to spend it on, where we're going to spend it. So that it does take a lot of planning, but the result is we're going to be getting something of high value in the long term.
And speaking of getting things with high value, frugality does not mean never spending money. We actually prefer to think of frugality as spending less money on things that don't mean as much to us, so that in the long run, we can have money for things that do mean the most to us. So Larry and I will go for a long period of time without spending a great deal of money. But when we spend money, we really spend money. But it's because we have considered carefully whether we want to spend that money, and we know we're getting a high value product at a price that we are willing to pay.
So the pathway in order to get there is that we're going to be spending money on things that are going to be in the future, something of value to us. We're going to take some time researching that item. We may narrow it down to the brand that we prefer, the best brand of that item. Then we're going to narrow it down to the model. Then we're going to start researching who sells this product for a good price. Then we're going to look at sales, coupons, closeouts, anything else that will go along with that. So you see, it's kind of a drill down.
What winds up happening by default is the fact that frugality will streamline what you own. So you may go a long period of time without owning something, but then when you do purchase it, it's a high quality version of that product that's going to last you a really long time. And that is part of frugality too, is always having those goals in front of you, because frugality is always forward thinking. It's always thinking down into the future. And the reason that we're not going to buy that $1.50 candy bar every day at work from the vending machine is not because a $1.50 candy bar is going to make or break anybody's budget. It's because over time, those $1.50 candy bars, day after day after day after day, do add up to really big money. And we're very, very well aware of consistently doing the math to know, if I make this purchase, how is it going to impact this goal that I really, really want down the line?
Frugality is not a poor person thing.
Now, we put this in here because we actually just received a comment from a viewer. Her name was Jennifer, and she left this comment: "You like to come off as poor and living so frugally." Well, frugality is the whole concept of this YouTube channel. So yeah, we're going to talk about frugality on the YouTube channel. But this whole idea of frugality being something that is immediately consigned part and parcel of being poor, that actually is not the case.
Hope read a book a while back that's very interesting. It's called The Millionaire Next Door. Maybe you've heard about it, or maybe you've even read the book. But it talks about the kind of people that are actually millionaires. And it might be somebody that lives right next door to you.
There's actually an updated version of that book too, called The Next Millionaire Next Door. I think that's the name of it.
Oh my gosh.
But I have read both books, and they're actually really interesting deep dives into what is the mindset of a millionaire? How do ordinary people actually become millionaires? And one of the characteristics that both millionaires and billionaires have in common is the fact that they are both frugal. In fact, many people who have a great deal of money continue to live sort of a middle-class lifestyle even after they have lots and lots of money, and they still love to find great bargains, because it's that exercise consistently of frugality that has gotten them where they're at.
You know, Hope and I had this conversation about becoming millionaires. And I remember commenting to her, and I said, even if we were millionaires, I would still go to Goodwill and buy my clothing, or I'd go to the thrift shops or the garage sales, just because it's kind of like beating the system.
Yeah, it's kind of like a treasure hunt too.
It
We
is.
often compare
Yeah.
it to that. It's like, ooh, I wonder what we can go find, that we really, really want and need, and we're going to find a great bargain on it. Tell us in the comments section, even if you were a millionaires or billionaires, would you still shop used? Are you like us? Tell us in the comments section.
With the planning that we've talked about that goes into the frugal lifestyle, one thing that does is it takes the guesswork out of, gee, should I have bought that set, that television set, or that car? It takes a lot of the guesswork out, because frugal people take more time and effort into making those purchases. So we're not depriving ourselves. We're not trying to be poor. We're taking time, saving up the money, paying cash. We're saving money on interest, on loans. We're saving money and time on purchasing good quality items that are going to last us and not break down, not have to repair them as often.
Here's another thing, another point to be made is the fact that frugal people are not afraid of saving small amounts of money, because we have really figured out that small amounts of money over a long period of time add up to really big amounts of money.
Absolutely. Frugality involves morality-based priorities.
The way that we spend money, the way we choose to spend our money, is intrinsically related to our values. What that means is if we save money because we want to donate to a local homeless shelter, or we want to donate money to, say, an animal rescue fund, those are still frugal-based decisions. They are decisions that are based on moral values, but that still is encompassed within the realm of frugality. And I think people forget that. They forget that people who actually are frugal also tend to like to be very, very generous with our money, and we prioritize saving money for the things that are actually super important to us. We actually have sort of a catchphrase that we use on our website, and we say, we teach families practical frugality skills so they can pay off debt and live the life they really love, knowing that their money is under control. That is the basis of frugality.
Yeah, it's really freeing. I mean, with frugality comes a freedom of what you can do with your money. Frugality really reduces boredom. A frugal person tends to be a little more creative. They're going to do some really fun family activities. Let's go for a hike. Let's go on a real simple vacation. They have a very simple lifestyle. When Hope and I were first married, we didn't have a lot of money to spend on things. We didn't go out to movies or go out to eat very much. Instead, we went on walks and we talked with each other. We got to know each other, and we just bonded so tight by having those moments of simplicity where we weren't spending money and trying to entertain ourselves.
Frugality is actually really practical. We are pragmatists. So that means that we look at everything through the lens of what is most practical.
And along with that, Hope, we're also very down to earth. We just live at a real simple, basic level, and we're very content with what we have.
So in case you can't tell already, frugality promotes less stress. We're actually able to go about our day, feel perfectly fine about our lives, and know that we are spending our money in accordance with our values and in accordance with our goals. And we're perfectly okay with that.
And as long as you know exactly where your money is going, how much is coming in, how much is going out, and you've planned for all of those expenditures, it gives you peace of mind. You can sleep at night.
One of the things we actually always see frugality as is a tool. We always see frugality as a means to an end. And we always want to know what is our end goal, because frankly, that is what keeps us moving forward to the goal, is remembering this is where we want to be in 5 years or 10 years. Frugal people are always willing to think outside the box. This whole idea of these parameters of what constitutes a normal lifestyle don't bother us at all to think, yeah, I don't know, that might be normal for most people, but I'm kind of okay with not being normal. I'm okay with thinking outside the box and figuring out how I can do what I want to do for less money.
And I really think that frugal people take a positive look on the future. They've done some planning. They've planned out maybe 6 months, a year out. They're ready for things that could come along that, could provide some changes in their lifestyle. A frugal person is more secure.
The frugal life at its core really is joyful.
Yeah.
We never ever felt, raising all 4 boys on less than average income, that they were being deprived of anything. For instance, we really could not afford to take them out to eat on a regular basis. So instead, we created these family traditions around Friday nights that became really important to them. In good weather, we always did Friday night picnics, and we spent lots and lots of time with them doing things on Friday night rather than taking them out to a restaurant, where really that's a pretty impersonal way of spending time with your kids.
And really, you can't replace time with things that you buy for others. That time is precious. Those are the things that they're going to remember someday, is the amount of time that was spent with them. Frugality is also a lifestyle of abundance. It means that you now have money for the things that you desire, that you really want, because you're not spending money on all kinds of other little things.
So to sum it all up, deprivation is debilitating and frugality is freeing.
Exactly.
Now, we can't wait to see what Kate Kaden is going to say over on her channel about the exact same topic. Go head over to Kate's channel. We're going to make sure, once again, there's a link to Kate's video in the description of this video.